The grand hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with the light of 1,000 stars. Ambassador Ellis stood alone before the curved table where 15 alien representatives sat in judgment. Their faces, some with scales, others with multiple eyes, and a few that were merely clouds of light, all wore the same cold expression. "The decision is final," said the elder representative, his blue skin tight against his ancient face. "Humanity's membership in the Galactic Council is revoked, effective immediately." Ellis gripped the podium. 200 years of alliance ended with a simple statement. He took a deep breath, trying to keep his voice steady. "You make a terrible mistake," he said. "The Void Swarm approaches our sector. Our scientists have tracked its movement for decades. Without united action, all our worlds face destruction." The elder waved a six-fingered hand. "Your Void Swarm is merely a space phenomenon. Your species always sees threats where there are none." A representative with compound eyes clicked her mandibles. "Humans spread too fast, develop dangerous technology, ask too many questions. The Council cannot risk your unpredictable nature." Ellis looked at each alien face, searching for any sign of support. He found none. "Then we stand alone," he said finally. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Ellis spent that time preparing his report for the World Council. How do you tell humanity that the stars had turned their backs on them? That the protection promised by joining the galactic community was now gone? Director Reeves met him at the orbital station. She was a tall woman with gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "They voted us out?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. Ellis nodded. "And they refused to believe our warnings about the void." Reeves looked out the viewport at the blue-green Earth below. "Then we prepare on our own." The emergency session of the World Council was brief but intense. The recording systems were turned off. What they discussed would not leave the room. "The public cannot know about either our expulsion or the void threat," Reeves said to the gathered leaders. "It would cause panic." An older man with dark skin stood up. "But we must prepare defenses. The void will reach our sector in less than 50 years. And we will be ready, General Powell," Reeves replied. "Without council restrictions, we can develop technologies they always forbade. Dimensional physics, true AI integration, stellar energy weapons. They fear our potential," Ellis added. "That's the real reason behind our expulsion." The vote was unanimous. Earth would prepare in secret. The public would be told that humanity had chosen to reduce its involvement with the Council to focus on internal development. Meanwhile, the military and scientific communities would begin the largest mobilization since the colony wars. That night, Ellis stood on the balcony of his apartment, looking up at the stars. They seemed colder somehow, more distant. He thought of the Council representatives, so sure in their wisdom, so blind to the danger coming from the darkness between galaxies. "They'll come to regret this," he whispered to the night sky. On the other side of the solar system, the first automated defense platforms were already being constructed. Earth would not go quietly into the night. And when the void came, as Ellis knew it would, the galaxy would learn what it meant to abandon humanity. What no one realized yet was that the universe itself would ultimately pay the price for that decision. 50 years passed like a slow breath. Earth turned inward, silent to the stars, but buzzing with activity behind closed doors. Director Reeves, now with white hair and lined face, walked through the underground lab complex called Olympus. Around her, thousands of scientists worked on projects that would have horrified the Galactic Council. "Show me the progress on Project Dawn," she said to her assistant. A hologram appeared, showing a weapon that could harness the energy of a star. The Council had forbidden such technology, claiming it could destabilize the fabric of space. Maybe they were right, but humans no longer cared what the Council thought. "It works?" Reeves asked. "Yes, Director. The test in the Kuiper Belt was successful. We can now target and eliminate threats from 2 light-years away." Reeves nodded. "And the defense grid? Jupiter's moons are fully armed. Mars stations are at 90%. The Earth shield will be complete next month. Occasionally, Council ships arrived with messages asking humanity to reconsider its isolation. Reeves sent them away each time. Once, an elder representative named Turo came personally. He seemed different from the others, genuinely concerned. The Council made a mistake, Turo admitted during their brief meeting. Some of us see that now. Too late, Reeves replied. We walk our own path. After he left, Reeves wondered if she had been too harsh, but the memory of Ellis's humiliation before the Council still burned. Ellis had died 10 years ago, never seeing the defenses he helped inspire. Meanwhile, far from Earth, Commander Powell's scout ships watched the galaxy's edge. Powell had aged too, but his eyes remained sharp. He stood on the bridge of the Sentinel reviewing the latest scans. Magnify Sector 7, he ordered. The screen showed darkness with strange ripples, like water disturbed by something moving beneath the surface. The void is speeding up, his science officer said. New calculation puts first contact with inhabited worlds in 8 months, not 2 years. Powell frowned. Which world? Tesseract. One of the elder colonies. Have they been warned? We sent anonymous data packets. The Council dismissed them as human fear-mongering. Powell stared at the screen. Billions of lives on Tesseract, unaware of what approached. Even after the Council's betrayal, he found no satisfaction in their coming suffering. Prepare a direct message to Tesseract. Include all our data on the void. Maybe someone there will listen. Back on Earth, Reeves reviewed the new AI defense systems. Unlike the simple computer minds the Council allowed, these AIs were nearly human in their thinking. Another forbidden technology. The Fortress Earth Protocol is ready. Director, the lead engineer said. All outposts can be coordinated by the central AI in case of attack. Reeves nodded. And civilian evacuation plans. Underground shelters can house the entire population for up to 3 years if needed. Reeves looked at the global map showing the defensive installations. In 50 years, humanity had built what the Council could not imagine in 1,000. Director, her assistant interrupted. Commander Powell requests an emergency meeting. The void. Yes, it's accelerating faster than predicted. The first elder world will be hit within months. Reeves closed her eyes briefly. The moment they had prepared for was coming sooner than expected. Tell Powell I'm on my way, and activate silent alert status for all Earth defenses. The quiet years were ending. The storm was about to break upon the galaxy, and humanity would either stand or fall alone. The distress call from Tesseract came without warning. The automated message played throughout the Sentinel's bridge as Commander Powell and his crew listened in silence. This is Elder Colony Tesseract. We are under attack by unknown entities. Our defenses are failing. The entities absorb energy, all forms of energy. They err. The message cut to static. Powell replayed it 3 times before ordering. Send this to Earth immediately. 20 hours later, Director Reeves called an emergency meeting. The room was tense as military and scientific leaders gathered around the circular table. The void has reached inhabited space, Reeves said. Tesseract has gone dark. No communications for 18 hours. We warned them, someone muttered. Powell stood up. Our long-range scans show the colony is overrun. The void entities are feeding. They're consuming all energy sources, power plants, ships, even living beings. He displayed a grainy image on the main screen. Dark, shifting shapes moved through Tesseract's cities. They had no fixed form, like living shadows that bent light around them. What about survivors? Asked a woman with short gray hair. Our scans detect approximately 2,000 ships fleeing the colony, Powell answered. But they're being pursued. Most won't escape. And why should we care? Asked General Reed. The Council abandoned us. Let them face this threat alone. Powell's face hardened. Because we're better than that. Reeves tapped her fingers on the table, thinking. What are you suggesting, Commander? A rescue mission. We have battle cruisers stationed near that sector. We could create a corridor for the refugees to escape. Absolutely not, Reeve protested. That would reveal our military capabilities to the Council. It would also expose our ships to these void entities before we fully understand them, Reeves added. The risk is too high. The argument lasted hours. In the end, Reeves made her decision. We focus on Earth's defense. That's final. Powell left the meeting with a tight jaw. In his quarters aboard the Sentinel *, he made a choice that would change everything. Captain Taylor, he said over a secure channel to his most trusted officer, prepare a battle group. 7 cruisers with full complement. Sir, we don't have authorization. The authorization is mine. We're creating an escape corridor for the Tesseract refugees. 6 hours later, human battle cruisers dropped out of jump space near the fleeing refugee ships. The vessels were packed with elder families, their engines failing as the void pursued them. All ships, form defensive pattern Delta, Powell ordered. Prepare star killer weapons. The human ships moved into formation, their hulls gleaming black against the stars. When the first void entities appeared, Powell gave the order. Fire. Beams of concentrated stellar energy lanced out, striking the shadowy forms. The void entities recoiled, parts of their masses disintegrating under the assault. It's working, Taylor reported. They're vulnerable to our weapons. Get those refugee ships behind our line, Powell ordered, and keep firing. For 3 hours, human ships held the line while elder refugee vessels limped past them to safety. The void entities attacked in waves, learning and adapting. Several human ships took damage, their energy systems failing where the shadows touched. On the Sentinel's bridge, Powell watched as the last refugee ship passed their defensive line. All ships, prepare for jump, he ordered. Mission accomplished. As they jumped to safety, Powell knew he had disobeyed direct orders. He would face consequences, but as he looked at the sensor readings showing thousands of elder lives saved, he couldn't bring himself to regret his decision. What no one realized yet was that this first battle had revealed something crucial. Humanity's weapons worked against the void when the Council's did not. Commander Powell stood before the disciplinary board, his back straight and face calm. He had broken direct orders. He had revealed Earth's military capabilities. Yet he could not regret saving thousands of lives. Your actions were reckless, Director Reeves said, her voice hard. And yet, the main screen lit up, showing reports from across the galaxy. 3 more worlds had fallen to the void. Panic was spreading. And yet you proved that our weapons work when theirs fail, Reeves finished. The door opened. A tall woman with dark skin and sharp eyes entered. This hearing is over, she announced. I'm Director Jackson. Director Reeves has been replaced. The room fell silent. Powell blinked in surprise. The World Council voted this morning, Jackson continued. Our policy has changed. Humanity will no longer hide. 2 days later, Powell watched as a council ship docked at Earth's orbital station. From it emerged the High Elder himself, flanked by representatives from 12 species. Their faces showed fear and desperation. They come to beg, Jackson said quietly, standing beside Powell. After 50 years of silence, Jackson's mouth curved slightly. Funny how an unstoppable enemy changes politics. The meeting took place in a grand hall with windows showing Earth below. Jackson sat at the head of the table, with the alien representatives arranged before her like students before a teacher. The void has taken 7 worlds, the High Elder said, his voice wavering. Our weapons pass through them like light through glass. Our shields fail. We need help. You need human help, Jackson corrected. The same humans you cast out. A reptilian representative hissed. We do not come to discuss old grievances. The galaxy burns. Then let's discuss terms, Jackson replied coolly. Humanity will help, but not as your servants. We fight our way, with full authority over all military operations. The aliens looked at each other in shock. What Jackson asked was unthinkable, giving humans control over Council forces. "Impossible," said the High Elder. Jackson stood. "Then the meeting is over. Good luck with the void." As the aliens argued among themselves, a blue-skinned elder scientist stepped forward. Powell recognized him. "Tiro," he said with surprise. "Commander Powell." Tiro nodded. "The human who saved our people at Tesseract." Tiro turned to the council members. "I studied the battle data. Human weapons harm the void when ours do not. Their shield technology resists drain attacks. We have no choice." The debate lasted hours, but the outcome was inevitable. With 4 more worlds sending distress calls, the Council surrendered to humanity's terms. "Commander Powell will lead all military operations as Supreme Commander," Jackson announced. "You will provide all star charts, resource access, and put your fleets under his command." The High Elder signed the agreement with a trembling hand. "If you betray us—" "We're not the betrayers here," Jackson cut him off. Later, the Council representatives toured Earth's defense installations. Their shock was visible as they saw the technologies humans had developed. AI systems beyond anything the Council permitted, weapons that harnessed stellar energy, shields that adapted to attacks. All this in just 50 years. Tiro asked Powell as they watched a demonstration. "You took away our friends," Powell replied. "So we built better tools." That night, as the new Galactic Defense Force formed, Powell stood in the command center, studying maps of void movements. "They're not random attacks," he realized suddenly. "They're following Council power signatures. That's why they hit Tesseract first." A plan began to form in his mind. For the first time since the void appeared, Powell felt a spark of hope. Humanity might just save the galaxy that had abandoned them, if the galaxy was willing to follow where humans led. Supreme Commander Powell stood before the holographic map showing the entire galaxy. Red dots marked worlds already taken by the void. Yellow showed worlds in danger. Too many of both. "We cannot defend everywhere at once," he told the gathered military leaders from 12 species. "We must draw a line and evacuate worlds beyond it." An insect-like general clicked his mandibles angrily. "Abandon our outer colonies. Unthinkable. It's that or lose everything." Powell replied sharply. "The void spreads too quickly." The argument might have continued, but Director Jackson entered the room. The aliens fell silent. "Your own weapons don't work," she reminded them. "Ours do. Either follow Commander Powell's strategy or fight alone." No one chose to fight alone. Within days, the largest evacuation in galactic history began. Billions of beings from dozens of species packed onto ships bound for the inner systems. Meanwhile, human battle fleets took position at key points along the defensive line. Powell's first major offensive launched 3 weeks later. Human ships jumped into a system already half consumed by the void. "All ships target the largest concentration," Powell ordered from his flagship, the *Defiance*. "Fire star killers on my mark." The weapons activated, drawing energy from nearby stars and focusing it into beams of incredible power. Where they struck, the void entities shriveled and broke apart. "It's working," reported Captain Taylor. "They're retreating." But the victory came at a cost. 3 human ships were caught by void tendrils. Their power failed instantly, life support systems dying. Thousands of human lives lost in moments. Despite the losses, Powell pressed the attack across multiple fronts. Humanity's weapons proved effective, but the void was vast. For every shadow they destroyed, 10 more seemed to appear. Back on Earth, Tiro worked closely with human scientists. The elder scientist had defected completely to humanity's side, bringing his 1,000 years of knowledge. "I've analyzed the data from our battles," he told Director Jackson one evening. "There's a pattern." Jackson leaned forward. "What kind of pattern?" "The void is drawn to specific energy signatures. The standardized power systems the Council mandated for all member species." Jackson's eyes widened. But human power systems are different. We developed our own after leaving the Council. Exactly, Tiro nodded. That's why the Void targeted Elder Worlds first. Your energy signature doesn't attract them as strongly. This discovery changed everything. Powell immediately ordered all human-controlled ships and stations to modify their power systems. The results were dramatic. Void attacks on human positions decreased by 70%. We should share this with the Council immediately, Tiro urged. Jackson shook her head. Not yet. This advantage is too valuable. But billions could be saved. And humanity kept this advantage secret for selfish reasons. Jackson asked, "How would that look?" "No, we use this to win the war first. Then we share it." Tiro didn't agree, but he remained silent. On the front lines, Powell led attack after attack. Human ships became feared by the Void, which began to avoid direct confrontation. For the first time, the shadow entities retreated from certain systems. The Council representatives watched in awe as humans turned the tide. Some with gratitude, others with growing unease. "They're too powerful," the High Elder whispered to his advisors. "Once the Void is defeated, what will stop humanity from ruling us all?" Powell knew nothing of these whispers. He focused only on the next battle, the next strategy. His forces pushed the Void back from 3 key systems, saving millions. Each victory came with sacrifice. Human soldiers died by the thousands, but Earth's factories worked day and night, building more ships, training more crews, developing better weapons. The galaxy watched as humanity, once abandoned, now fought with everything they had to save everyone, even those who had turned their backs on them. After 6 months of fighting, the tide had turned. Human forces had pushed the Void back from the core systems. For the first time, people dared to hope. Powell stood on the bridge of the Defiance *, reviewing battle plans with his officers. A message from Earth interrupted them. "Commander, we've detected unusual activity at Battle Station Orion," reported Director Jackson. "Their security systems went offline for 12 minutes. Powell frowned. "Equipment failure?" "No. We believe Council agents may have infiltrated the station." Powell's face hardened. After all humanity had sacrificed, the Council still didn't trust them. "Increase security at all stations," he ordered. "I want human guards only." But the warning came too late. 3 days later, Powell woke to alarms blaring throughout his ship. On the main screen, a massive explosion bloomed in space where Battle Station Orion had been. 4,000 human lives, gone in an instant. "What happened?" he demanded. "Sabotage," his security chief answered. "The power core was deliberately overloaded." Before Powell could respond, more reports flooded in. 2 more stations, Athena and Zeus, had also exploded. The defensive line was broken. "The High Elder ordered this," Tiro said, entering the bridge. The elder scientist looked ashamed. "I intercepted communications. They fear humanity's power after the war ends." Powell's hands clenched into fists. They'd risk everyone to weaken us. Alarms sounded again. Sensors detected massive Void activity surging through the gap in their defenses. "They're coming," Powell said quietly. The Void sensed our weakness. In the chaos that followed, Powell made a decision. Long-range scans had detected something unusual at the center of the largest Void concentration, a pulsing core that seemed to direct the shadow entities. "It's their coordinator," Powell told his officers. "If we destroy it, the Void may lose cohesion." Captain Taylor frowned. "The concentration is too dense. No ship could get close enough." "A small, fast vessel might," Powell replied, "with minimal power signature." Taylor's eyes widened with understanding. "A suicide mission." Powell nodded slowly. "I'll lead it myself." His officers protested, but Powell's mind was set. As preparations began, he recorded a message for Director Jackson, including all evidence of the Council's betrayal. "I don't know if we'll survive as a species," he said in the recording. "But if we do, remember what brought us here. Not just the Council's betrayal, but our choice to fight for everyone despite it. Don't let vengeance become our legacy. 6 hours later, Powell boarded a small scout ship with a hand-picked crew of volunteers. The vessel had been modified to run on minimal power and carried a single weapon, a prototype that could channel an entire star's energy into one devastating burst. One shot, Powell told his crew. That's all we'll get. They jumped into the heart of void territory, engines almost silent. Around them, shadow entities swirled like a dark ocean. At the center pulsed the coordinator, a mass of swirling energy unlike any void entity they had seen before. Powell guided the ship closer, avoiding detection. Every crew member knew they wouldn't return. For Earth, Powell said as they reached firing position, and for a galaxy worth saving. He activated the weapon. Energy surged through the ship, draining its reserves. The scout vessel became a blazing arrow of light aimed at the void's heart. The coordinator sensed them at the last moment. Tendrils of darkness reached out, but too late. Powell's ship struck the target, releasing all its gathered energy in one blinding explosion that rippled across space. The coordinator shattered, fragments of darkness scattering. Across the front lines, human forces watched in awe as the void entities suddenly lost formation, becoming disorganized and erratic. Powell's sacrifice had worked. The battle wasn't over, but the war had just turned in humanity's favor. 3 months after Powell's sacrifice, the war entered its final phase. Without their coordinator, the void entities became disorganized and vulnerable. Human forces, now joined by ships from worlds not part of the Council, pressed the advantage. Director Jackson stood in Earth's command center, watching the battle reports come in. Victory was close, but her heart felt heavy. The price had been too high. The last major void concentration has been destroyed, her aide reported. Captain Taylor's fleet confirms the Orion sector is clear. Jackson nodded. And our casualties. 7,000 in the final push. Total human losses in the war, 186,000. Almost 200,000 human lives, each one given to save a galaxy that had abandoned them. Jackson turned to Tiro, who had become her most trusted advisor. It's time, she said. Call a meeting of the full council. I want all representatives present. 2 days later, Jackson entered the Great Chamber where the Galactic Council had once expelled humanity. Now they waited for her, their faces showing a mix of relief, gratitude, and fear. The void is defeated, Jackson announced. The remnants are being hunted down by our patrols. Cheers erupted around the chamber, but Jackson raised her hand for silence. Before we celebrate, there is a matter to address. She activated a display showing detailed evidence of the Council's sabotage of human battle stations. The High Elder authorized this attack that killed 12,000 of my people. The chamber erupted in chaos. Many council members had not known of the betrayal. The High Elder rose, his ancient face pale. We feared your power, he admitted. Humans accomplished in months what the Council could not in millennia. And so you betrayed the very people saving you, Jackson replied coldly. The alien representatives watched in tense silence, wondering what humanity would demand as punishment. Many expected Earth to declare war on the Council itself. Instead, Jackson said something no one expected. The old Council is dissolved, effective immediately. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The High Elder's voice shook. You cannot. We can. Jackson cut him off. The fleets protecting your worlds are human fleets. The weapons keeping the void at bay are human weapons. Your choice is simple. Accept our terms or face the future alone. She laid out humanity's proposal. A new galactic alliance would replace the Council. No single species would have authority over others. All technology would be shared. All worlds would have equal voice. This is the system we wanted when we joined the Council centuries ago, Jackson explained. A true alliance, not a hierarchy. The debate lasted hours, but in the end, the outcome was inevitable. Without human protection, the Council species would be vulnerable not just to any remaining void entities, but to dozens of non-council worlds that had suffered under their rule. The High Elder signed the agreement that ended 2,000 years of council dominance. 1 month later, Jackson stood at the dedication ceremony for a memorial station orbiting the star where Powell had made his final stand. Representatives from over 100 worlds attended. Commander Powell never saw humanity as separate from the galaxy, Jackson said to the assembled dignitaries. Even when the galaxy rejected us, he believed all sentient life deserved protection. She unveiled the memorial, a simple stone arch with words etched in dozens of languages. Humanity did not abandon the galaxy, even when the galaxy abandoned humanity. The price was high, but the stars still shine. As ships from 100 worlds formed an honor guard around the memorial, Jackson looked out at the stars, stars that would have gone dark without human sacrifice. The universe had indeed paid a price for rejecting humanity, but humans had paid the highest price of all to save it.